Welcome back to Football Daily. It's incredibly rare for a manager to totally change the way they view football, and it almost never happens at the very top of the game. However, a number of top coaches have changed and adapted their styles over the years to varying degrees of success. Let's take a look at 5 of the best. 5. Antonio Conte. We kick off with Antonio Conte, as unlike most of the other managers in this list, his style of play is defined very strictly. His most successful teams have been built on the back of a superb defence, use wingbacks extensively in attacking play, and feature forwards who revel in defensive work as much as bullying opposition centre-backs. But this wasn't always the case. Conte's early managerial career was very mixed, and he first found success at Bari, with whom he achieved promotion to Serie A in 2009, playing a 4-2-4, a more attacking take on the traditional 4-4-2. He utilised this again when guiding Siena to promotion 2 years later, also experimenting with the 3-5-2. And in his first campaign as Juventus boss, in which he helped the old lady win Serie A unbeaten, he switched between 4-2-4, 3-5-2 and 4-3-3, often playing Giorgio Chiellini at left back. After the signing of Kwadwo Asamoah in 2012, however, Conte decided to stick religiously to a 3-at-the-back system, using the Ghanaian international and Stefan Lichtsteiner as wingbacks to devastating effect. The pair contributed to a combined 29 goals in their first 2 campaigns together, accounting for almost 20% of the team's total output, and helping Juve to the title with a record 102 points in 2013-14. This system would also serve his successor Max Allegri well, as it allowed him to get the very best out of aging stars like Patrice Evra and Dani Alves. Meanwhile, Conte himself carried it with him to the Italian national team, getting some superb displays out of one of the weakest Azzurri squads in years, albeit one built on his familiar back three of Barzagli, Bonucci and Chiellini. But after being appointed by Chelsea, he attempted to revert to a 4 at the back, and it didn't go well. The Blues were convincingly beaten by Liverpool and Arsenal, with Branislav Ivanovic in particular looking jaded at right back. Conte acted decisively, dropping Ivanovic, switching to 3-4-3 and bringing in Marcos Alonso and Victor Moses, who became his new Asamoah and Lichtsteiner. The Blues were instantly transformed, winning 13 games in a row and securing the league with 93 points. Since returning to Italy with Inter, he hasn't budged, even converting Ivan Perisic into a wingback and bringing both Asamoah and Moses into the fold. 4. Thomas Tuchel. Unlike Antonio Conte, who got most of his experimentation out of the way early in his managerial career, Thomas Tuchel has made significant tactical changes in each new job he's taken. Rising to prominence in charge of Mainz at the turn of the 2010s, Tuchel was famous for using a variety of different shapes to outwit opponents in the Bundesliga. His side would change formation up to 6 times a game and employed a high-tempo, high-pressing style to keep opposing teams under constant pressure, just as former Mainz manager Jurgen Klopp continued to develop his own counter-pressing philosophy at Dortmund. But Tuchel employed these tactics primarily because he was managing one of the smallest clubs in the Bundesliga, one which couldn't compete financially with the likes of Dortmund, Wolfsburg, Schalke or Leverkusen for top talents in the transfer market. By making his team work harder and smarter than more technically adept opponents, he was able to establish Mainz as a solid top-flight club. After replacing Jurgen Klopp at the Westfalenstadion and inheriting a squad full of world-class talent, Tuchel changed course, incorporating the possession-based positional play of Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. Dortmund's average possession skyrocketed from 53% to 61%, while their expected goals went from 1.6 a game to 2.5, a better average than Pep's Bayern in the 2015-16 season. Faced with a very different challenge at PSG, Tuchel turned one of the most expensively assembled and ego-driven squads in Europe into a more hard-working unit, and often played 2 up top to maximise the attacking talent he had at his disposal, with his tactical intelligence helping the side reach its first Champions League final in 2020. And since joining Chelsea, he has made another shift, this time to a 3-at-the-back system, utilising the wealth of top-quality wide players at Stamford Bridge. 3. Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson was rarely associated with a strict playing philosophy during his managerial career, but his teams all carried recognisable traits: a heavy academy presence, an ability to attack at breakneck speed, and a never-say-die attitude. Nevertheless, while these core principles defined Ferguson's supreme managerial career, he was known for making significant tactical tweaks in order to keep his Man United side competitive for so long, and some of these changes can be attributed to specific moments. In April 2000, a year after he lifted his first Champions League, the United manager was outwitted by Vicente Del Bosque as Real Madrid dumped the Red Devils out in the quarter-finals, and it signalled a change in approach. His side had often gone into Champions League knockout ties with a gung-ho, attack-minded attitude in the past, as exemplified by their famous comeback over Juventus in the 99 semi-final. But after conceding 3 at home to a super clinical Los Blancos, Ferguson was turned, later saying that consistent success in Europe would be more readily achieved if we improved our capacity to defend against the counter-attack. This more cautious approach to European knockout ties didn't serve United particularly well initially, as they won just one tie between 2001 and 2006. But Ferguson stuck to it, with United finally winning the competition again in 2008, scoring 6 and conceding just once in 6 games en route to the final. By this point, Fergie had also shifted his thinking in the wake of new tacticians arriving in the Premier League. Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez came to England in 2004, and both built their success on a defence-first philosophy. Mourinho won the Prem at the first attempt, with his Chelsea side conceding just 15 times and losing just once, while Benitez guided Liverpool to the Champions League, notably shutting out Juventus away in the quarters and Mourinho's Blues in both legs of the semis. Within the space of 6 months, Ferguson signed Van der Sar, Vidic and Evra, and having stuck strictly to a 4-4-2 formation up to that point, only varying it slightly season to season, began experimenting with a 3-man midfield, something Mourinho had utilised to great success at Stamford Bridge. By 2007-8, United had become the most ruthless counter-attacking side in Europe, with Ronaldo, Rooney and Tevez forming the front line of a lopsided 4-3-3, and the defence conceding just 22 goals in the league, a club record. 2. Brendan Rodgers. One of the most tactically flexible coaches in the Premier League, Brendan Rodgers has used a number of shapes and systems at the various clubs he's managed. He used 7 different formations during Liverpool's surprise title challenge in 2013-14. Going from a 5-3-2 to a 4-4-2 and 4-3-3 in a matter of weeks, and also utilised the talents of Gerrard, Henderson and Sterling in a midfield diamond. But it was a different story in his first year at Leicester, sticking with the 4-1-4-1 which had been utilised on occasion by Claude Puel in his final months at the King Power. Rodgers saw little reason to change for a good 12 months, and there wasn't much reason to. He took over a side which had won just one of its previous 8 games and won 5 of his first 6 matches in charge, with a revitalised Jamie Vardy scoring 7 goals in that run, Wilfred Ndidi continuing his improvement as a lone DM, and new signing Youri Tielemans slotting in excellently alongside James Maddison in front of the Nigerian international. This system continued to serve Rodgers well the following campaign, as the Foxes kept up the pace with eventual champions Liverpool for the first half of the season. But even after his side lost consecutive games to Southampton and Burnley following an injury to Ndidi in January 2020, the former Celtic manager stuck with the formation, picking up just 2 points in the 5 games the defensive midfielder missed. And despite some shoddy post-lockdown form, Rodgers still didn't budge, only scrapping the formation after Maddison succumbed to a hip injury, by which point Leicester were on the verge of dropping out of the top 4, having been 8 points clear of Man United in 3rd when the Premier League restarted. But faced with more key injuries and a congested fixture list in 2021, Rodgers became more adaptable again. He switched to a 3 at the back following a couple of early losses, reverted to a back 4 further down the line, and switched players between different positions as he rotated his squad, with James Justin and Timothy Castagne swapping between left and right, and Ndidi playing a number of games at centre-back. And in a famous win against former employers Liverpool, he pulled a masterstroke at 1-0 down, switching from a 4-2-3-1 to a diamond with 15 minutes remaining, prompting his side to score 3 in 7 minutes, and giving Reds fans a reminder of his tactical brilliance. 1. Fabio Capello. Winning 4 Serie A titles and a Champions League in 5 glorious years at AC Milan, Fabio Capello made quite the entry into management. Taking over from the legendary but strict Arrigo Sacchi in 1991, the Italian coach initially gave forwards like Marco van Basten and Ruud Gullit more freedom to express themselves, with the Rossoneri becoming the first side to win Serie A unbeaten in his first season and hitting 79 goals in the process, their highest top-flight tally in 30 years. But with Van Basten forced out by an injury which would later see him retire, Capello went into full defence mode in the 93-94 campaign, setting his side up in a more rigid 4-1-4-1, as they won the league again despite scoring just 36 goals, with 8 of their 34 games resulting in a scoreless draw. He then stuck by his defence-first policy at Real Madrid, who despite averaging over 2 goals a game in the 96-97 season, were nowhere near as explosive as Barcelona, who scored 102 goals, with 34 coming from a then 20-year-old Ronaldo. Nevertheless, they won La Liga by 2 points, going unbeaten for the first 6 months of the season. But arguably his greatest tactical achievement came at Roma, where he inherited a squad that contained the likes of Cafu, Samuel, Batistuta and Totti. Capello deployed Cafu and Vincent Candela as wingbacks in a 3-4-1-2, with Totti, Batistuta and Montella forming a fierce trident up top. They lost just 3 times, outscored every other side and pipped Eriksen's Lazio, which contained the likes of Crespo and Nedved, and Ancelotti's Juve, which featured Zidane in his final Italian campaign, to a famous Serie A title. So guys, that was our rundown of 5 managers who changed their philosophy. What did you guys think of the list, and did we miss anyone out? Let me know in the comments down below. All credit for this fantastic script has to go to Michael McCubbin and the edit, which was Danny Pape. Shout out them in the comments down below. Click on screen for another great FD video, and I'll catch you next time.